Hello and welcome to episode 3 of The Creative Walk. My name is Pedro Bonatto and I'm your host. As I said, this is the third time I'm recording this. This has not been released yet. It takes a little while for iTunes and all those things to catch up, accept your submission. I was not going to record today. I was actually not going to continue the project, or at least I was trying to find a way to make it so that there is no real daily effort. Or maybe I can bang some episodes ahead of time like I do with my other podcast, which makes sense. But the idea that I think would be interesting for this show, if it is going to be interesting at all, is that it has to be recorded the day of and hopefully released on that day. It's sort of like walking together in sync. Thoughts that we have in conversations we will have hopefully through time. It has to be a little bit timely, even when we're talking about timeless things. That has a lot to do with patterns of behavior, for good and bad. One of the main things that I would consider my Achilles heel, my main weakness, is actually following through, having discipline in things. I discovered that for a lot of people, this is actually a common problem. It's hard to get into work, and when you get into your creative work, you actually get into it obsessively. And then you're done with it, you're sick of it, and it goes in cycles. The trick is sort of like how to make a balance so that this is something that you can continue on a sustainable basis. And I've been thinking about how to increase my discipline so that I, as an artist, can achieve higher levels. As I mentioned Jocko Willink, on his good speech on YouTube, one of the finest 2 minutes. If you didn't have a chance to watch it, go watch it. But one of his mottos, one of his books is called Discipline Equals Freedom. And that concept that if you have a disciplined approach to things, you are not bounded by the limitations that an undisciplined life will get you. As David Allen said, David Allen is a productivity consultant, specialist, thinker. And one of the things that he said was, an artist will organize his brushes if he wants to get a painting done. Apologies for the sounds. As I said, I am walking around the city right now. It's about 2 p.m. in Kyiv. I just left the gym and it's a bit noisy here, so apologies for that. Hopefully I'll talk to you from different places and you'll hear different environment sounds. Coming back to David Allen, he was talking about that you don't really need much more than a disciplined approach, a system that you can rely on to keep your work going and getting things done. Whereas Jocko Willink is much more specific and says, let's get going, let's get you disciplined. I love trying to imitate his voice, even though I can't really do it, but anyway. So I've been trying to create this project in part on a personal level to get accountability to create something every day that I like to do in any case, which is to talk about different ideas, different things. And I don't think there will be ever a lack of ideas, even if they're not going to be the most interesting one, depending on who the audience is, but let's give it a try. So today I wanted to talk about this idea that appears in Musashi. That is a book about this swordsman from the 16th century It's an actual historical figure. In this book, there is one phrase. Actually, it's not necessarily the phrase exactly, it's just the idea that is there. I can't remember the exact quote, but this idea that it was sort of a wish. He was hoping that this day may cast a bright light into the future. And remember this today. How can we make today cast a bright light into the future? Whatever we do today to point at something that shall be revealed tomorrow. Which sort of related, I guess, to the subject I was talking about yesterday, that all the bad situations you're in right now, how they are opportunities for you to improve and get something good in the future. And then today, by chance, I encountered this phrase again. And this phrase was talking about how, what can you do today to make your life a bit better tomorrow and the next day. And also the way that they constructed this phrase is kind of interesting, because if you're talking about a bright light into the future, are you talking about tomorrow? Are you talking about a couple weeks from now? Are you talking about 20 years from now? Are you talking about 100 years from now? And that has to do with another element that is very interesting that I've been thinking about, that was brought by psychologist Jordan Peterson. I'm sure I'm going to talk about him later, independently if you like the dude or not. There are some ideas, if you consider just the ideas, that are invaluable. And he was mentioning that, in a way, we're all connected around the world. We're part of this network. He was doing this calculation that usually you know about 1,000 people, and those 1,000 people that you know about 1,000 people. That's on average, of course. So that would put you 1 degree of separation, like basically 2 people, 1 person away from 1 million and 2 people away from 1 billion. So even if you say that the average person knows, I don't know, 1/10 of that, you would basically be connected to anyone in the world by, let's say, you're distant to a person like about 10 people or whatever, even if it's 2, it's more dramatic. That connection is very interesting from the point of view that he was talking about how ripples of your actions, they propagate through time and space. So even the things that you think you're so insignificant in the middle of 7 billion people in this small pale blue dot in the middle of all the galaxy, but what you do actually propagates through time. It's just a matter of how to see it. So in a way, connecting to this idea from Musashi of may you shine a bright light today into the future, it's sort of like you can't see the light from where you are because it's spread across time. Trying to find out what the right thing is and what the light you're trying to shine on is, of course, the trick and what separates the greats from in the process of finding their greatness. Also, as you may know, I am in Kyiv, so you will hear Russian and Ukrainian being spoken around me. So apologies for that. I'm trying to minimize the sound as much as I can, the background sound, but I think it's kind of interesting. I almost didn't record this, which would make the project, in a way, invalid, or at least incomplete. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I actually decided to go to the gym, and today I'm releasing a bunch of projects and actually finishing a bunch of new things. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. Again, my name is Pedro Bonatto. You can find me on all social media as Pedro Bonatto, at Pedro Bonatto on Instagram and Twitter, and you can find me on Facebook too. Send me a message, see if this is of interest. I know it's still 3rd episode, which I almost gave up, which is kind of funny. So let me know what you think. Shoot me a message. My vlog and the new episode of my podcast is coming out either today or tomorrow. So I'll see you tomorrow.